Their lives crumbled. Then they did this one thing. What does it feel like to hit rock bottom? It's the feeling of drowning, with no one coming to save you. It's a feeling of despair you just can't shake, where the weight of your failures, your losses, and your regrets presses down until you can barely breathe. It's that moment you realize all the old ways of coping, all the blame you've thrown at others, all the hope you once clung to, has just evaporated. Moving forward feels impossible. You're stuck in a dark pit, and every time you try to climb out, the walls just get steeper. For so many people, this is where the story ends. A job is lost, a business fails, a relationship shatters, and life becomes a shadow of what it once was. The world keeps spinning, but you're frozen, left behind with nothing but the rubble of a life you used to know. But for the people we're talking about today, rock bottom wasn't the end. It was the beginning. It was the solid ground they desperately needed to finally push off from. From personal ruin to unbelievable success, their stories all share a common secret. A turning point that has nothing to do with luck or timing or some special talent they were born with. They all did one specific thing that changed everything. And no, it's not a magic pill or some overnight fix. It's something far more powerful. Something available to every single person watching this right now, no matter how deep in the dark you feel. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you won't just understand what this one thing is. You'll have a precise, actionable blueprint to apply it to your own life. Starting today, we've all heard the stories. J.K. Rowling, a single mother on welfare, scribbling notes on napkins in cafes, getting rejection after rejection before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Oprah Winfrey, who battled through a childhood of poverty and abuse to build a media empire, completely changing how we talk to and about each other. Nelson Mandela, who survived 27 years in prison, yet emerged not broken, but as the leader who would change the course of a nation. From the outside, their journeys look like miracles, don't they? Like 1 in a billion exceptions to the rule. We tell ourselves, well, they had something I don't. A special gift, an unbreakable will, some kind of destiny. But what if that's just a convenient lie we tell ourselves to stay comfortable in our own inaction? The truth is, the gap between their before and after wasn't bridged by a single lucky break. It was built. Day by day, brick by brick, with a force that's often misunderstood, frequently underestimated, and yet is the single most reliable predictor of long-term success. That force is discipline. But hold on, not the kind of discipline you're thinking of. Not that grueling, soul-crushing, military-style punishment. That's not sustainable. What these individuals stumbled upon was a different kind of discipline. A quiet, intentional, and deeply personal system of action. The one thing that connects all of these incredible turnarounds is this. They stopped waiting for motivation, and they started building their own discipline through a system of daily, non-negotiable actions. They learned that motivation is just an emotion. It comes and goes. But discipline? Discipline is a habit. Motivation is the spark. Discipline is the engine that keeps chugging along long after the spark has faded. They didn't just decide to be disciplined. They built a system that made discipline inevitable. And that system is made of 4 distinct, actionable methods. These aren't just theories. These are the practical, real-world steps they took when all hope seemed lost. Let's break them down. Number 1. The Brutal Self-Audit. The power of unfiltered truth. The first and most uncomfortable step every single one of them took was what I call the Brutal Self-Audit. Before you can rebuild, you have to get a clear, unflinching look at the wreckage. This isn't about self-pity. It's not about blame. It's about radical honesty. When you hit rock bottom, your mind is a storm of fear, shame, anger, and grief. The natural instinct is to numb that pain, to distract yourself, to create a story where you're the victim and the world is out to get you. It's a coping mechanism, sure, but it's also a cage. The Brutal Self-Audit is about stepping outside of that cage and looking at your situation with the cold, objective eye of a scientist. It's about finally asking the questions you've been running from. Not, why did this happen to me, but what choices did I make that led me here? Not, whose fault is this, but what part of this is actually in my control right now? Not, why do I feel so hopeless, but what specific, tiny action could I take to change how I feel? This is all about separating fact from feeling. Your feelings of hopelessness are real, but they aren't the factual reality of your potential. Your feeling of being a failure is powerful, but it's not a permanent identity. The audit is about documentation, getting it all out of your head and onto paper. So, how do you actually do this? Grab a pen and paper, not your computer, not your phone. The physical act of writing slows you down and connects you to your thoughts. Now, divide that paper into 3 columns. Column 1. The unfiltered reality. Here, you write down every single thing that's wrong, and be brutally honest. Are you in debt? Write down the exact number. Is your health a mess? List the specifics. Bad sleep, junk food, no exercise. Is a relationship broken? Write down the honest reasons why, including your part in it. Don't soften the language. Don't write, I'm having some financial trouble. Write, I have $17,000 in credit card debt and 0 savings. The goal here is to face the monster and see it for exactly what it is. No judgment, just facts. Column 2. My contribution. This is the tough one. For every item in column 1, you have to find your role in it. This isn't about beating yourself up, it's about taking your power back. As long as everything is someone else's fault, you're powerless. The second you acknowledge your part, you reclaim your agency. Maybe the company downsized, but did you get complacent and stop learning new skills? Maybe the economy tanked your business, but did you ignore the warning signs? For almost every external event, there's an internal choice that meets it. Find it. Own it. This is where your power is. It's realizing that if your choices helped create the fall, then new choices can create the rise. Column 3. The 1-degree shift. This is where hope comes back. For each negative reality, you're not going to write down some huge solution. You're going to write down one tiny, almost laughably small action to shift its trajectory by just 1 degree. You don't escape a deep hole in one giant leap. You find one small handhold at a time. If you have $17,000 in debt, the shift isn't make $1 million. It's spend 15 minutes looking at a debt consolidation plan. Or cancel one subscription I don't use. If you're out of shape, the shift isn't run a marathon. It's put my running shoes on and walk to the end of the driveway. The only goal of this column is to prove to yourself that you are not helpless. You have the power to act. This brutal self-audit is the foundation. It's painful, absolutely. But it's the only way to build your new life on solid ground instead of the shifting sands of denial. You stop being a passive observer of your life's collapse, and you become the active architect of your comeback. 2. The non-negotiable Keystone habit. Forging a chain of victory. Once you've done the audit, you'll have a list of possible actions. And this is where most people get completely overwhelmed. They try to change everything at once. They decide they're going to wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym, meditate, journal, start a business, and go vegan, all starting tomorrow. And by day 3, they're exhausted, their willpower is shot, and they give up, feeling like an even bigger failure. Successful transformations don't work that way. They happen by focusing all your initial energy on one thing. This is the idea of a keystone habit. A single, small, consistent action that starts a positive chain reaction in your life. It's the first domino that, once it falls, starts knocking down all the others. For Oprah, a keystone habit was her daily practice of gratitude through journaling. For over 20 years, she has made a point to write down 5 things she is grateful for each day, which anchors her mindset in abundance, not scarcity. That small act doesn't just make her feel good. It trains her brain to look for the positive and builds a foundation of resilience. For J.K. Rowling, during her toughest years, the keystone habit was simply writing. As a single mother on government assistance, her writing time was precious, often limited to when her daughter was asleep. But she made writing a non-negotiable part of her day. It wasn't about writing a masterpiece every single time. It was about reinforcing her identity as a writer and making tiny, consistent progress. That discipline was more important than waiting for the right mood to strike. The one thing isn't the goal itself. It's the daily process that makes the goal inevitable. So, how do you find and implement yours? Step 1. Identify your anchor. Look at your brutal self-audit. Which one area, if you improved it, would give you the most energy and momentum? Your health? Your focus? Your finances? Pick one domain, not 3. 1. Step 2. Define the 2-minute version. Now, take that goal and shrink the first action down until it's so easy you literally can't say no. This idea was popularized by James Clear. If you want to read more, the habit is read 1 page. If you want to meditate, the habit is sit in silence for 1 minute. If you want to get fit, the habit is do 1 push-up. The point isn't the single push-up. The point is to become the type of person who never misses a workout. And that identity is built by showing up, especially on the days you really don't want to. Step 3. Make it non-negotiable. This is it. This is the key. This one tiny habit is your sacred contract with yourself. You do it every single day, no matter how tired you are, how unmotivated you feel, no matter what. Why? Because this is how you rebuild self-trust. You've probably broken hundreds of promises to yourself. You said you'd start the diet Monday. You said you'd finish that project, and you didn't. Each broken promise chipped away at your belief in yourself. Keeping this one tiny promise every single day is how you reverse the damage. It's a daily vote for a new identity. The identity of someone who does what they say they're going to do. Think of your willpower as a muscle. When you're at rock bottom, it's weak. You can't just walk into a gym and lift 300 pounds. You start with the tiny dumbbell. This habit is that 5-pound weight. It feels insignificant. But by lifting it every single day, you are slowly and steadily rebuilding your strength. If this is hitting home for you, and if you've ever felt stuck, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. We're building a community here dedicated to practical, no-nonsense strategies for taking your life back, and I want you to be part of it. Now, a quick question for you. What is one tiny, non-negotiable habit you could commit to for the next 30 days? Think about it, and when you have it, pause this video and write it in the comments. Don't just think it, write it. Declaring it publicly makes it real. This is how change starts. 3. The Environment Purge. Engineering your success. The third method is probably the most underrated, but it's one of the most powerful. People who make huge turnarounds don't just change their internal habits. They radically change their external environment. They do an environment purge. The truth is, your willpower is a finite resource, especially when you're stressed. If you spend all day fighting off temptations and distractions, you'll have no energy left for the important work. An environment purge is about making discipline the path of least resistance. It's about designing a space where good choices are easy and bad choices are hard. This applies to your physical, digital, and social worlds. First, your physical environment. Your space is covered in cues that trigger behaviors. If you walk into the kitchen and the first thing you see is a box of cookies, you're forcing your brain into a fight it doesn't need to have. But if your running shoes are right by the door, that's a trigger for the person you want to become. Is your space engineered for distraction or focus? A messy room often leads to a messy mind because it's a constant, low-level drain on your energy. Next, your digital environment. In the modern world, this is the biggest discipline killer. Our phones are basically dopamine slot machines. An environment purge here is non-negotiable. First, turn off every non-essential notification. If it's not a real human trying to reach you, it doesn't deserve to interrupt your life. Second, delete the apps that are your biggest time wasters. Be honest. If you can't bring yourself to delete them, bury them in a folder on the last page of your phone. Make temptation inconvenient. This isn't about weakness, it's about strategy. Finally, and most critically, your social environment. The people you surround yourself with are the single biggest influence on your mindset. As Jim Rohn famously said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. When you're at rock bottom, this is a crucial audit. Who's in your life? Are they lifting you up, or are they pulling you back down into the pit with them? Do they talk about possibilities, or just complain about problems? This is the most painful part of the purge. It might mean distancing yourself from old friends, or even limiting contact with negative family members. It's not about being cruel, it's about survival. You can't let their cynicism crush your fragile, budding discipline. You have to actively seek out people who inspire you. Join a group, find a mentor, surround yourself with people whose standard is higher than your own. Their energy is contagious. 4. The feedback loop of small wins. Manufacturing momentum. This final method ties it all together. It's the engine that turns a tiny spark of action into a raging fire of momentum. It's creating a deliberate feedback loop of small wins. When you're climbing out of a deep hole, you can't see the top. The final goal feels impossibly far away. If you only measure success by whether you've reached that destination, you'll feel like you're constantly failing and you'll quit. Psychology shows that progress is one of the most powerful human motivators. That feeling of moving forward releases dopamine and makes you want to keep going. People who turn their lives around become masters at manufacturing this feeling. They don't wait for the big wins. They engineer a constant stream of small ones. So, how do you build this feedback loop? First, you have to redefine what a win is. A win is not lose 50 pounds. A win is I stuck to my healthy meal plan for dinner. A win is not write a book. A win is I wrote 100 words today. A win is simply keeping that non-negotiable promise you made to yourself. The bar for a win has to be low enough that you can hit it every day. Second, you must track your wins. This is critical. Our brains have a negativity bias. We remember failures more vividly than successes. You have to fight this with a physical record of your progress. Get a calendar and put a big X on every day you do your Keystone habit. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you did that moved you forward. This visual proof of your consistency is a powerful weapon against self-doubt. When you feel like you're failing, you can look at that chain of X's and say, no, the evidence says I'm a person who shows up. Third, celebrate your wins. This doesn't mean a big party. Celebration is just consciously acknowledging your success. It could be as simple as closing your eyes after you do your 1 push-up and telling yourself, I did it. I kept the promise. That small moment of self-acknowledgement cements the habit in your brain's reward system, making you more likely to do it again. This loop, set a small goal, track it, and celebrate it, is how you generate momentum from nothing. You complete a small task, you feel good. That good feeling gives you the energy for the next task. That success reinforces your new identity. It's the upward spiral that replaces the downward spiral that got you to rock bottom. So let's go back to where we started. That feeling of drowning. The stories of Rowling, Oprah, and Mandela that seemed like miracles. The one thing they did wasn't a single action, but a single, profound shift in their entire philosophy. They stopped waiting to be rescued. They stopped waiting for motivation. They realized discipline wasn't a punishment, but a tool. It was the ladder they could build themselves to climb out of the darkness. And that ladder is built with 4 parts. The Brutal Self-Audit, facing the unfiltered truth to reclaim your power. The Non-Negotiable Keystone habit, rebuilding self-trust 1 kept promise at a time. The Environment Purge, designing your world to make discipline easy. The feedback loop of small wins, manufacturing momentum by tracking your progress. This isn't just a list of nice ideas. This is a system. It's a blueprint for rebuilding a life. Their lives didn't magically get better. They got better because they took small, deliberate, disciplined actions, day after day, until the combined effect of those actions became an unstoppable force. The only thing separating you from a story like theirs is getting started. Your rock bottom can be the solid foundation on which you build everything. The pain you feel right now, that can be the fuel. But only if you decide to act. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Choose one thing from this video, just one. Will you do a brutal self-audit tonight? Will you define your 2-minute Keystone habit? Will you delete one distracting app from your phone? The choice is yours. The power has been yours all along. Stop waiting for motivation. Start building your discipline. Start building your ladder. One rung at a time. You have the blueprint. Now it's time to lay the first brick. In the comments below, tell me which of the 4 methods hit you the hardest, and what one small action you're going to take in the next 24 hours. Let's hold each other accountable. And if you want to keep going on this journey with a community that's serious about building a better life, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. This is just the beginning. Thanks for watching. Now go and start building.